Okay, you guys, welcome back. We're going to be doing I'm going to do a synopsis on my understanding as of this moment, because as we all know, this study is very in depth, it's very broad, it goes more into detail, but as of right now, I'm just trying to put out what I have because I feel a sense of urgency. So I'm going to be breaking this down according to the characters and what I see going on in the world. Esther is an extremely prophetic book, and I think that the Lord has just had me kind of on standby for a little bit because he's revealing more and more and more and more. So I'm going to be talking about the book of Esther and how it applies to end times, how it's extremely prophetic and points to every other book, including Nehemiah and Ezra, and Daniel, really, because all of these, the Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther were all during about the same time. And then you have Daniel, which is during Babylonian times, but around the same time, according to scholars. Now, Esther is an extremely mysterious book. It deals with the meaning behind the name, who is this person, and the symbolism that's going on here and the overall message. So I'm going to be breaking down a few elements that the Lord has shed light on me. I believe that the Lord has revealed to me prophecy. He's opened my eyes. So I'm going to be showing you guys some parallels that I see, some symbolism that I see, and why this time, this very season is so vital to the book of Esther. So the book of Esther seems to have started around Purim time, which is the 12th month. But it also talks about the first month, and it goes into very drastic detail. Now, I want to stick strictly to Mordecai and Haman today and show you what's going on in the world, and then show you how I believe that this has to do with the Pope and this other Pope-like figure, the Monsignor, who is actually located in Jerusalem right now. So first of all, I just want to talk about a little bit of history. First and foremost, I believe that the Lord showed me that everything began in Indo-Europe. I mean, the civilization there, the Indus River Valley. And all of these traditions have to do with, and all these cultures, all these religions have to do with Indo-European culture. I have many videos on it, linking back history. Every single bit of history links back to Indian culture. Take it with a grain of salt if you wish. And my biggest argument is that the Persians were nomadic. They were a nomadic tribe. Any scholar will tell you that, but nobody wants to just fully grasp the concept that they were nomadic. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about the symbolism and the season and the parallels. So in this series, I want to talk about the symbolism such as the garden. Obviously, the garden Jesus was in during Passover night, which also parallels with the 7-day feast that King Ahasuerus had. There is only one 7-day feast, and that's Passover. Then you have the 7 eunuchs, and Jesus talks about his 7 angels in Revelation. Then you have the 2 women, in Revelation, the woman in the wilderness and the Jezebel spirit. And then it also parallels to Vashti, the disobedient wife, and Hadassah, which is her original name, but renamed Esther. The wife that was very submissive to her husband. Also, I want to talk about the parallels with Lazarus. Now, I do have a video out there that talks about how quarantine and Lazarus has to do with right now. You know, Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Lazarus means to be poor. Ashveris means to be poor. Jesus claimed to be poor. Okay, so there is a factor of being poor. Jesus said that the poor of spirit will enter the kingdom of heaven. So there's a whole linkage there, as well as the parallel to basically Esther's people being in bondage, and how this king had Esther redo the decree that was done against her people. So this is all very symbolic here. This is amazing. Now, here's my belief about Haman. I believe that Haman is a foreshadow of possibly the Catholic Church. I mean, I just can't say anything else. I don't know if he's supposed to symbolize the false prophet or the Antichrist figure. Many people say the Antichrist figure, and Perry Stone has a great message regarding that. I mean, he really breaks it down. But he's an Agagite. And let me tell you, I'm not going to go into this history today, but I believe in Exodus, around the time of Moses, they wore something called a mitre. It is mitre, and it is actually, they use it sometimes to be called a turban, and sometimes to be called a crown or a diadem in King James Version. And that is exactly what the Pope wears, okay? That weird hat. Basically, in Exodus, it shows practically what the Catholic Church wears, and the altar setup and everything like that. These things are very similar, similar aspects. But I want to talk about this false religion, and how, I see a foreshadow of Saul before he became Paul, and he was changed. I also want to talk about religion. What was this religion? And I want to talk about the importance of this Easter time frame, this Passover time frame, and the first month, which we know is Nisan or Aviv in the Hebrew calendar. Now, keep in mind that this is Persian, and let me tell you, in doing my etymological search, I found that majority of the Persian originates from Sanskrit language, okay? Sanskrit only is in one place, and that's in India. I'm going to be showing you guys some stuff, so stay tuned. Okay, so as you guys probably already know, I'm going to be talking about Ishtar, Ashtoreth, Ashtaroth, Isis. She has so many names. I mean, it would be just ridiculous to go down the list of all of her names. If you haven't already done your research, I don't want this video to be about her, but ultimately, this woman is the prostitute. She is the mystery religion. She is the queen of heaven. I know it says underworld here, but when you start to get into studying all of this, this woman is basically all elements tied up, summed up into one. It's basically a woman with a split personality, okay? Now, am I saying that's what the book of Esther is about? Absolutely not. But I am saying that there was obviously a belief system in Persian times. And as you can see, kind of with what's going on with Daniel was just brought into this mess, and he ended up getting a name change. That's all that's happening with Hadassah, okay? Or AKA Esther at the time. But Esther is actually a significant name because it means a hidden star. But it can have duplicate meanings. Okay? So I do want to go into how you split these things up. I will do that on my next video because some of the things that I'm going to be going into is going to be a lot deeper. So I'm going to have to show you guys that there is a good side and there is a bad side, and that one story can tell two separate stories. So it gets deep. But this woman is known as a spring goddess, Venus, sun worship. Her son is Tammuz, which you will see in Ezekiel. They cry for Tammuz. And there's videos that you can watch regarding this. But this is what this celebration of Esther is, or Easter, I'm sorry, is all about. It's the same name. It's basically bowing down to the east or sun worship. This woman has ushered in sun worship, and somehow it started in Sumeria. And pretty much, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows the story about Semiramis and how she killed her husband, and then they had this false religion baby. Now, this is all stemmed from Zoroastrianism and Mithras, which it actually talks about in the Bible. But overall, it is a fire god, okay, which you will know as Baal. And there are many spirits that come from this, okay? This is some deep, dark stuff. And overall, this is what the Catholic Church has spread amongst everyone, this false religion, okay? So if you hear anybody, just some people don't know. This is just what the Lord has shown me. So, take this information and do with it what you will. But Catholicism has literally blinded everyone. If you have not seen the Christian Crusades, I'm sorry, but I don't see anything good about those people. No, they never started out good. They were terrible people who just slayed people and killed and forced their false religion upon everyone. Now, in Mithras, it is about this baby that is conceived in spring, right? And Easter. And I have I show my calendar in a previous video, the video I made before this, talking about how this baby's conceived during Easter on Easter Sunday and Monday, which are the sun and the moon gods. Esther or Ishtar also represents the moon as well as Venus. And basically it goes on to this Mithras baby that's born December 25th. And that's where this nativity scene comes in with the Magi. Jesus is alluding to something. He's trying to tell us something. They're trying to tell us something because there are two different accounts of the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, am I saying that that this didn't happen to baby Jesus? I'm not saying that it didn't happen to baby Jesus, but I'm saying that there are double meanings to that story, okay? Jesus was the beginning. He is the present, the future, and the past. So he's showing us with each generation how this is going to pan out. So basically, that is that Mithras, right? And then you have Zoroastrianism, which is basically, it is fire worship. They would go into caves, and these deities taught them how to bind covenants or contracts, signing contracts, which binds the soul. It puts people in bondage, especially if you have a leader that signs you over, aka a king or some type of president that signs for you over to another country or whatever the case be, another entity overall. And this is how bondage started, okay? So Also, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this is where that burning of babies came into play and all these other things. But in the beginning, it just started out in the caves. Now let's picture, what these people do in the Catholic churches. Now, I'm someone coming from a Catholic background, and I lived in Italy for 3 years. I've seen it all. It is so ominous. It's so dark. Their songs are ominous, and they light candles, which is that fire deity, and the sun worship that you can see the sun disk behind everyone's head. I'm going to be getting more into this. You guys are going to get real acquainted with my understanding. Okay, so to begin to back up my claim, here we go. We see Jeremiah 7 and 18. Queen of Heaven appears 5 times in the Bible in the King James Version. And what you can see here is that the Queen of Heaven is a nuisance, and it angers and provokes God. So they light candles and they make cakes. They knead dough with their hands. Now this is Passover time, clearly, as you can see. And if you want to know something really interesting, Persians created pizza. So pizza actually comes from the Persians. Especially, they would fight with the Greeks all the time, and they found a way to knead dough and bake flat pies on their shields. So that's an interesting fun factor. Now we're going to see who else is actually also worshipped as the Queen of Heaven. So as you can see here, here's the true etymology of Mary or Maria or Miriam or any name with the root name of Mary in it. So am I saying that Mary from the Bible was rebellious? No. But Jesus gave names to people for a reason. Like Saul to Paul, Abram to Abraham, Sarah to Sarah, so on and so forth. Mary, Jesus said a couple things to his mother that showed that he wasn't very friendly with her for a reason. Now, it wasn't necessarily because of her, but it was necessarily most likely because of her name. And he was trying to show us something regarding her name, like he did with Simon and Peter and the twins and all the other people that he renamed. So this is what the Catholic Church worships. It is a secret religion, and it is a rebellion. And all those who know Constantine and what he did changed these paganistic beliefs, which you'll see later on is actually Hinduism, to all come into one. Remember, Jesus did say that my brother and my mother are those who follow the will of my Father in heaven. And he said that for a reason. Okay, so about 23 hours ago, the Pope did his recitation of the Regina Coeli with Pope Francis. Now, Regina means queen, and Coeli means of heaven. So, Queen of Heaven, what are they doing? You're going to see a lot more of this that goes hand in hand to exactly what I'm talking about. Stay tuned. So as you can see here, we have the Eucharist, which is clearly sun worship and has nothing to do with our Jesus Christ. He's clearly holding up a symbol of a sun, and it's supposed to be symbolic of the drinking of the blood on Passover. But as you can see, what we're looking at here is sun worship. It's the golden calf all over again. It's disrespecting God. And every church is faced towards the east. Don't want to get into it. As you can see, it's supposed to be the sit-down portion of the Passover, which is the Last Supper, they like to call it. However, nothing that they do is biblical because they follow the solar equinox versus what the Bible tells us to follow, especially in Exodus, it talks about the new moon is the new month, starting over fresh. So that does not mix in. Also, this is symbolic of, coming out of Egypt. I'm talking about just Christianity-wise, actually, a follower of Jesus coming out of Egypt, like Moses and the Israelites did, because it symbolizes freedom from bondage, just like in the book of Esther, how this decree was made and put against her people, which I talk about covenants and how this works and how it was brought to humanity through Zoroastrianism. And we're going to be getting into that so you guys can see how this all works. Stay tuned. All right, so let's get into what the Pope really had in his cup, what kind of sorcery he's really up to, and learn a little bit about just the origin of these people, okay? All right, you guys, so you can take your time to read this. I'm not going to go all into detail or etymology for the sake of the video, for the time, but I do want to talk about this religion here, and this man had a huge part in this whole thing. But I do want to make a very important note that Haman was the second in command. Remember that for future reference. So we're going to look into this drink and see what this drink is all about. I also have a video that I really want to do regarding destruction, because as you all know, there is a spirit that is called the destroyer, or called destruction, that is mentioned in Revelation, and I know exactly what that is. Well, you guys. So I was cursed out, up, down, and around by a supposed Christian, saying that I have no idea what I'm talking about, but this is what the Lord shows me. Everything comes back to India, just like my dream. And it's amazing because look at the time that I snapshotted this. It was at 4:44 p.m. Okay, so as you can see, the Veda is where this all started. If you don't know what the Vedas are, I have a video regarding this. I have a video regarding Sanskrit, how it all started out, what the Lord revealed to me. And it's just, it all keeps coming back to India. I'm sorry to break it to everybody, but it's the truth. They are in the East. They're in the East, so it would make sense. Not Egypt, but, India and China area. So it started there and obviously worked its way throughout the world. But this is a ritual that's been done, okay? And obviously they're taking some type of drug from a plant in order to reach a higher level of God knows what, intuitiveness or spirituality, if you will. And you can see here, okay, there's a lot of biblical words, so we need to watch this. This is where the devil likes to copy the Lord, and this is where he likes to disguise himself as light. My job is to show everyone the truth, because Jesus said that the truth shall set us free. Okay? Now you see this apris. This is a deity. And this is where we get our month of April on the Gregorian calendar, which Pope Gregory, is where we got this calendar. Okay? So what did the Lord say? That they would come and they would change God's law and his commandments. And as you can see, they've changed all the laws. They do everything completely opposite. They obviously this is some type of devil worship, fire worship, and they changed God's calendar. We no longer look at the stars and the sky and the moon. Now we are focused on our Pope Gregory calendar, where every single month and every single day of the week is named after a deity. So, as you can see here, this is the disguising going on. And I want to talk about this oblation here. Now, it is an offering or a gift. And things are starting to sound very familiar. The wise men with the gifts. Veda means knowledge. It means to know. That's what Vedic means. Okay? So this is all going to make a lot of sense in a second. And bam, it smacks you in the face. Oh my gosh, the Lord is so good. So we have here, whatever they want to call it, Zoroastrianism or Mazdayasan. Oh, Lord, I'm not going to even try. But as you can see here, it is literally the knowledge of good or evil. That's exactly what the Lord told us what not to eat from in the past. Okay? So in the past, the Lord told us, thou shalt not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I used to not understand that. But I understand it now. And now so do you. We must send this video to every Christian. So does that mean that we shouldn't know now? No, it doesn't. Because even the Bible says that we should be as wise as serpents and as kind as doves. So it is complete. It is finished. Jesus put all of our sins on the cross. You know, God knew this would happen. He knew knowledge would increase. And now this is the point. The Lord told me when I figure out what my dream of India was about, then I was going home. And this is where it all started. And this is where Jesus is going to finish it. I saw the second coming of Jesus Christ in India. And he's coming back. Now, this is not the end as much as this has been wow. It's not the end yet. So I have a few more things to show you guys. All right, you guys. So there's 3 different main people in this book, and I want to just say it out loud because I'm not going to go into all the etymology. You guys could look it up on your spare time. But Haman basically is a representative of the planet Mercury, which also Paul was represented as the planet of Mercury, which is a messenger. And if you're looking into Greek mythology, it's a terrible messenger. However, since Paul was also, called Hermes or Mercurius, he's the messenger of the gods. So we know that a star or an angel, according to the Bible, means a messenger of God. So just overall, let's not look too deep into it. On the bad side, it's a messenger, obviously, from maybe the Greek mythology. But on the good side, it's a messenger from the one true God. Then you have Esther, which means star, which is Venus, the brightest star. And Vashti also means beautiful and brilliant as well, the last wife. So I do want to get into the women on another day. But there is a parallel with the brightest and bright, or brilliant and brightest. In, I don't remember exactly where, I believe it was in, I want to say Exodus. But I want to say Exodus. But it was when the two Egyptian women said that the Hebrew women are very lively and that they can't stop them from having babies. So their names also were like Bright and Brightest, something along those lines. I cannot find a true name for Vashti, though. That one's hard. But Esther means basically Venus. It's traced back to Venus, which is the brightest star in the sky. That's an illustration. And also Malachi is also Mars. They actually said that his name means Marduk, and that relates to Mars, which in a bad sense in mythology is the god of war. But in a good sense, like I said, just a messenger from God. And one last thing that you can see at the bottom is that these names cannot be translated in Hebrew, that they needed to use Sanskrit in order to translate the Persian. And that is at the bottom where you can see it's translated to Mercury. Haman is not a Hebrew name. So I do want to do one last tie-in with the Catholic Church to just sum everything up, because I know time runs short and I know that any day now something's going to pop off. So I really want to get this out in the open. But as you can see here, a lot of people know that this rabbi went ahead and basically claimed that the Messiah, the false Messiah, aka the Antichrist, his name will be also Jesus. So let's look here. We're going to see this Bar Jesus, who was also a false prophet and a Jew. Do you see this? Now I want to get into the fact that Jewish people are not only in Jerusalem, nor have they ever been, that they have been spread out. And it's just like scholars just don't get this. People don't get this. It's documented in the Bible that they have been spread and they have been in captivity. That's why all these people are writing books at different times. And, there's different type of Semitic languages because they've been mixed over time in Germany and India and everywhere that they've been around the world, Rome. So they have borrow words that they use from each other, and that's why the language has changed so much. Now, here, right? The reason why I'm saying this, why it's so important, is because, as you can see with Hitler, majority of the people that he persecuted were living in Europe, okay? Because they had it good over there. They were nobles and they had good jobs and they had bank systems. They had everything over there. Doctors, lawyers. So they made a name for themselves. And as you can see with the book of Daniel, with Esther, with many of them, even Egypt, with Joseph, he got land over there. So, it wasn't all bad for them. So here, what we see is that there was a false prophet named Bar Jesus. Now, Bar means son of, just like in Hebrew, Ben means son of, right? So, son of Jesus. So that's a title more so than a name, and you can see that with the lowercase j. All right, and then it talks about a man who's pious, and then underneath that it talks about Elimas, the sorcerer, okay? And it says that that's his name by interpretation. Now, when I try to interpret this name, it comes up as wise and El. So I'm seeing that there's a lot of mistranslations biblically that is very frustrating. I just feel like they did it on purpose. So we're going to go into this. I'm going to show you guys some very interesting things. So the point of all this and what's going on now is that clearly we see that the Pope is pointing to this very specific period of time. The Lord pointed to this very specific point of time. So whether it is bad or good, light or dark, both sides are pointing to this very moment, this very month, it looks like. And if not the month, then definitely this season. Something is big during this time frame. So we need to be getting ready because I know something's going to be really big this week in particular. So basically, I'm going to be going in, I'm going to break down what this vicar is of Jesus, right? I know that you've seen probably that he denounced this title, Vicar of Jesus Christ. And I'm going to be breaking down the etymology of him being the successor of the Prince of the Apostles now, which is usually used in the spiritual realm, aka the Prince of Persia, when clearly you knew there was the King Cyrus at the time in the book of Daniel. So this is definitely a spiritual, dark situation in high places. And then he also calls himself the supreme pontiff of the universal church. And universal is pretty self-explanatory. He's trying to unite, become one union with everyone around the world. United religion. So let's check this out. All right, you guys. Now remember with Haman, I told you to keep in mind that he was the second in command. The second in command. Now there's still some mysterious stuff in the book of Esther as far as the two men that tried to kill the king. I don't know. But it looks like the Pope is trying to go for something higher than deputy. It looks like he wants to be chief. Okay? So he doesn't want to be second in command anymore, especially under the name Jesus Christ, which is very sad. So you can go ahead and pause this and read it, and then we're going to go on to the next. Now, so the reason why I wanted to talk about the star or the messenger or the angel of God is because Haman represented Mercury. Mordecai represents Mars, and also bitter oppression is another terminology for himself and Maria, and a lot of those M words. It means bitter oppression. And then you also have, Esther, which is star 2. So he claims to be a messenger now, especially of the 12 apostles that were sent forth by Jesus to preach the gospel, so on and so forth. Okay, sent away. So you can pause and read that. But I mean, this guy is just clearly blaspheming to the highest power. And the significance of writing a letter or to put in order or to decree, pretty much is the word that they're looking for, is what's found in all throughout Esther. Okay? This was considered to be sorcery back then. To write things down meant an oath. To speak things or swear by them meant an oath. And very soon you're going to be seeing that actually religion is an oath and basically a marriage decree. So this is the word pontiff at its complete origin, because it can get a little tedious continuing to break down the word. But as you can see, he wants to become a high priest and just a path maker overall. Also, to let you guys know, Pope means father. And as you already know, the Lord told us not to call anybody else father or master. So if you didn't know, Pope Francis is a Jesuit. This is just, it goes hand in hand with that Freemasonry garbage, and they basically have created their own He-Man Woman Haters Club where you can just be a society of Jesus, and honestly, it's a lie. It actually means Jesus. And these were the Christian crusaders that went around destroying everyone. I would almost bet my bottom dollar that this is the same as the Jesuits today. Modern day Jesuit. If you actually look up Jebusite spirit, there is a spirit that is exactly that of Catholicism and what the Jesuits have done in history. Remember, Ecclesiastes says that nothing that happens under the sun is new, that history repeats itself. And last but not least, who the heck is this guy? Okay, I heard about him yesterday. And apparently, to my understanding, because I haven't really done the most research on him, he's been in Jerusalem since 2016. That's about right for when things have been popping off. I saw him on some other Christian person's channel, and they were mocking him because of his name, Pizza Balla, which is a very strange name. But I actually looked into it. I don't like it. I don't like his beatitude, the most revered Monsignor. What is this? Born April 21st. I don't like it. In Syria, Italy. Oh my gosh. What is up with this Holy Land? He was in the Holy Land from 2004 to 2016. And his motto is, "My grace is sufficient for you." So I did a little breakdown of his name. And I had to break it into two parts because it didn't want to tell me. Pizza means pie. And I already said that the Persians created the pizza. And Bala, I'll show you guys here. You guys, this clown wants to be called Lord. This is what's going on right now. This is some dangerous grounds that they're walking on. I'm going to do my research on this guy and see what he's up to. God bless you guys. And I want to do so much more. I want to show you guys so much more. It's just a lot of work. But pray for me and I'll pray for you. And I love you guys. And I do pray that this knowledge gets out because it's very important. Accept Jesus. Know that he's real. Know that he's true. And know that he's coming so soon. So soon. God bless.